Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Welcome, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight?
Good, good. I just was out. I was at a practice for myself. It's coached by Jim Fleming,
Oh, yeah.
legendary coach. He's been, I don't know how old he is. I think he might be in his 80s, and he's still coaching out there, coaching adults how to play hockey. So learned a lot. I learn a lot every time I go out there. We were working on our forwards to backwards pivot, and we learned a little
Oh,
trick
yeah.
about doing that and being balanced. So that
Okay.
was, yeah, he's a fantastic coach.
He's Adam Oates of Edmonton, is he? Like the skills coach?
There's lots of skills coaches in Edmonton, of course, and lots of very good ones. Blair Becker, core hockey. There's the quantum speed people. There's Chris Joseph, the former Oiler at base hockey, an outstanding shooting coach. So no shortage of really fine coaches all around. And the quantum speed Pelche, the Oilers skating coach, came out of the quantum speed group.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so we can thank Ethan Bear for we can thank quantum speed for Ethan Bear's skating habits.
Oh, yeah.
So Bruce, it was I came back late to the game and watched it on the PVR, and I was just glad to see, because when I left it, the Oilers were down 2-1. So I wasn't so upset with the loss. I was just glad they came back and got the loser point, which is of course huge in today's NHL. So they lost 3-2 in overtime. We're going to do our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. Bruce, what is your good thing?
Oh, well, I'm going to go with that early Oilers goal, minute 31 into the game.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Mr. McDavid, after a tough game. I had a feeling he might come out shot out of a cannon after probably hearing a little criticism, more likely probably internally criticizing his own performance in Pittsburgh. And then watching the pregame ceremony where Leon Draisaitl receives the Molson Cup for the best Oiler in October, and that's usually Connor's private area. So maybe that just motivated him a little bit too. But anyway, he came out, and I loved the goal. And what I really loved about the goal was McDavid coming out of his own zone. And so often we see him when he comes out of his own zone with speed, and he just roars up the ice and he tries to beat three or four guys. And instead, he dished the puck off to Leon and let Leon look after the neutral zone while he broke into open ice. And then, of course, the sharp backhand pass came right back on his tape as he hit the blue line. By now, it's a one-on-one. And even a great defenseman like Oliver Ekman-Larsson is hard-pressed to contain Connor McDavid one-on-one. And OEL could not do it. McDavid just dipped the shoulder on him, went right around him, went right around Darcy Kemper, and tucked her home. Colby Cave-style goal. It was a beauty.
Oh, you know what OEL's mistake was, Bruce? He didn't just grab him, throw him to the ice, because the refs weren't going to call him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my good thing, Bruce, was Ethan Bear. And I was just again impressed, because he seems to be getting increasing, like his confidence with the puck seems just to be going up. He's just making all kinds of smart passes all night long. Just every time he gets it, and he seems to make a good play. And he's really good also defensively in those little corner battles, using his body to separate the puck from the opposing forechecker, or to use his body to keep the forechecker away. He just makes these little moves, quick little dekes with the puck, MacIver-esque, and he's free and he makes a nice pass. He's just playing fantastic hockey. He really is, and it's so unexpected. It's such a great thing for the Oilers to have. He's the bedrock. He and Nurse are the bedrock of that defense. They're playing great hockey right now. So not all the time. They have the odd defensive lapse, and we're going to get into that shortly with Nurse. But I just think Ethan Bear is continuing to improve as he gets more and more confident.
Lovely Norm MacIver reference there.
Yes.
Largely forgotten, but terrific Oiler from the 1991-92 season. And they lost him in the expansion draft, I think, right after that to Ottawa, where he scored something like 60 points the next year. But he was yin to Dave Manson's yang.
Great
And
pairing,
Ethan Bear is to Darnell Nurse what or McIver was to Charlie Manson there and that was Edmonton's top pairing with a bullet at that time.
Very
And
similar pairing, eh, Bruce? Like,
he does those little pivots. Like I'm impressed by his nimbleness on his skates and by his decision making. Like how he'll do this little button hook, and all of a sudden he'll have left a checker, and there'll be a little opening, and it's long enough for him to make a pass, and it's almost always a good pass, and then the puck is up and out of the zone more often than not. And how he handles that forechecking pressure is really impressive.
he walked the line so calmly with the puck a few times, just kind of carrying it along. Like he's there's no panic in him when he's in that situation, and he makes a good play. I love it when he and Nurse are out there with McDavid and Draisaitl, and don't actually like it very much when the other. I'm kind of crabby about it a little bit when I see the other defensemen out there. I think like no, get because McDavid and Draisaitl are dominating the puck in the offensive end, and then it goes back to a non-creative defenseman, and nothing happens with it. But you put it back to Bear or Nurse and something good, especially Bear. But Nurse really activates a lot.
Yes,
so that
he does.
he's pretty strong on the offense. He has his own thing going on in the offensive end. So.
And they needed to find him the right kind of partner, which is to say, not Chris Russell, and probably not Adam Larson.
No,
and, somebody with skill who can, because Darnell has his own thing. He's a rover to me, and carrying the puck fine. Passing is not necessarily his number one skill. He does a lot of things out there, but how playing with a steady puck moving guy is just what the doctor ordered for him.
Yeah, McIver and Manson. Alrighty, Bruce, what is your bad thing?
Well, I'm going to have to single out Mr. Referee and other Mr. Referee tonight. I thought they were brutal.
They were terrible.
They were brutal. They were calling garbage penalties for nothing. And then I don't know what it was that Leon Draisaitl, maybe they didn't like his cologne, if you'll forgive the German joke, or something. Because holy moly, he was getting manhandled in this game. There was three obvious penalties. Where he got elbowed right in the head. Another time where Oliver Ekman-Larsson basically tackled him to the ice while he was getting beat wide. And the third time where a guy carved him with a vicious two-hander in the neutral zone. And then there was a fourth one where Jacob Chikrin tackled him in the aftermath of a scrum around the net. And that was one, sort of a clearing the crease one. You can see that one going one way or the other. But that was the only one of the four. I thought it was a penalty. And the other three were like obvious penalties need to be called. You can't miss those. And they missed three of them on the same player. And then they called crap, like the one they called on Koskinen, where I'm not sure he touched the guy.
And on Neil, what did Neil do? Like, yeah, both those penalties, I thought, like, it was the weirdest officiated game.
It wasn't the Oilers that got the short end of all the calls, though I would say more than the other way around. This was poor. There was no standard in this game. The standard was garbage. It was like, whatever, we're going to see one and we're going to miss 10.
It was kind of let them play, except when it wasn't. And there was a lot of let them play things where there weren't calls where there could have been easily calls. So yeah, I agree that I thought
Jujhar Khaira got away with a way more blatant foul than the ones that they called on Neil and Cassian.
Yeah, this was one of the poorest officiated games I've seen all year, and that's saying a lot. Well, it's only about 1 in 5, maybe 1 in 10 games that you really notice it. And this is they've played 16 games, maybe 2 games so far where we've talked about the refs at length, and this is one of them. Yeah. This is the worst. This was the worst job that we've seen. Okay, my bad thing, Bruce, is going to be all 3 goals against. They were like it's sometimes there's like other bad plays in a game, but it seemed like the Oilers, all of their worst plays ended up in the back of their net, and it was on the first 2 goals, it's just 2 guys. Koskinen, obviously, he went full Koskinen spring 2019 on that first one where he just absolutely, I don't know. I think he was thinking pass because he was not in position at all. It was brutal, and he just got beat on a just a B or C scoring chance shot. He should have had that.
It was a real good shot, and it was just in a perfect hole, but there should have been no hole. I mean, the guy's shooting
Yeah.
from the boards, for God's sake, out behind the hash mark. And he beat some short side. I mean, that's just the goalie not really being set for the play, and that was Edmonton's only lead of the game. They led 1-0 from the 1.5 minute mark to the 3.5 minute mark, and they never led again after that weak
And yeah,
goal against.
my theory is, Bruce, when a team lets in a bad goal, like when a goalie lets in it, the team usually loses. And one year I actually tracked it, and I think it turned out to be true. Like, it's just so deflating
Mm.
at any level of hockey, and I'm sure at the NHL more than all the others, when the goalie lets in a bad goal. And we haven't seen that a lot. We haven't seen that hardly at all this year. It's been amazing. So, but we saw it tonight, and that was a bad one from Koskinen. Now, to give him credit, and the announcers made a lot of this, he did battle back, and he was damn strong. He made some good saves the rest of the game, and certainly the other two goals. I mean, he might have had them, but they were pretty good shots. So then there was Joel Persson, Bruce, who, if we're completely honest, has been struggling with confidence, I would say, and maybe inexperience, more to the point, where he's been thrust into a top four role. He's playing with a pretty good player in Clefbaum, but he just doesn't seem confident moving the puck. His passes are all a little bit off, a little bit soft, and finally it caught up with him when he failed to get it past the player in the offensive zone. They go down the ice, and he's also a little bit weak, maybe on the check of the player. He's kind of catches up to him. He could have been a little bit more forceful, and they score, and that's the last we saw of him that game. What did you think of him? Pretty clear he was benched there. What did you think of
Oh
him?
yeah, no, Tippett was quite forthright about that in the post game,
Okay.
and he said he had a tough game all night, and that was just kind of the final straw. He said it wasn't like it was just the one mistake, and I certainly know there was one play late in the first period where Connor Garland had two great chances from in close where Koskinen made maybe his two best saves of the night, and Persson was the victim on those as well.
Yeah, we have him
And,
marked down for those. Yeah.
and anyway, his weak pass of the puck led to the problem, but his total inability to cope with the counterattack, like there was just a bigger, stronger, apparently faster guy, and
Yeah.
he couldn't tie up his stick, he couldn't haul him down, he couldn't do anything other than watch him shoot the puck in the net.
So I hope we don't see Manning back in the lineup. So what I'm hoping is, what I think they should do is move Benning up to play with Clefbaum for a while, and move Persson to play with Russell in a third pairing and see how that goes. I I mean there was a 7 game stretch when they put Manning in, they scored 9 goals. I don't think that's a coincidence. They're just not a puck moving team. It changes the complexion of the team considerably when that bottom pairing can't move the puck at all, or just really struggles. Now Benning, I thought he might have had his best game of the year. He just seemed more assertive into the game. He was getting more ice time, and maybe he's ready to move up and play with Clefbaum. But that's what I hope to see, is Persson move down to Russell. What about you? What would you, or would you just
Well,
put him back out there with Clefbaum?
well, that's one option. I have a feeling, just judging from the expression on Tippett, that he might be in the press box for a game or two. And I guess Manning would be the first choice. I'd be tempted to recall either Lagesson or Caleb Jones and put them in.
Play
And
Caleb Jones.
they're, I mean, those guys are playing good hockey down there in Bakersfield. I mean, poor Lagesson, he was on the roster for 2 weeks and never got a game. So
Move Benning up to the second pairing with Clefbaum and put Caleb Jones in there, with Russell on the right side, or Jones on the right side. Jones plays the right side often on the farm team, although he's been more recently teamed up with Evan Bouchard. Yeah, this is an interesting time. Like, if Persson can't cut it, and that's always, this has always been a possibility. Um, I don't. I actually hope they don't bench him. I hope they go back to him and just put him on the third pairing. And I think if he's facing slightly lesser minutes and lesser competition, that maybe that'll work. And Russell's a pretty good safety blanket. He plays it pretty safe. So that's what I would hope to see. Are we on? Oh, so we're still on my bad thing. And then the last goal, the overtime goal. Like, okay, James, listen, I've said this before, and I'll say it again until it stops happening. James Neal should not be out in overtime. James Neal is a fantastic power player, and he's an okay even strength player. He is he is not a good 3-on-3 player. He's too slow. He can't make a play, and he coughed up the puck. He has the puck in the neutral zone, and he coughs it up, and he chases it in, and he gets beat in that zone, and they break up. He's not fast enough to play. I would have Haas out there over him. Haas can skate. Like, pick the players who can skate. Nugent Hopkins is fantastic in
I'd
overtime.
have Cassian ahead of him at this point for sure.
Like, yeah,
sure.
So then Nuge gets a little bit aggressive, and he's beat on the play. But I don't understand. Nurse seemed to be in perfect position, Bruce, to stop that 2-on-1 pass. And somehow it got through him, and that was frustrating too.
Moved his stick out of the passing lane, and boom, the pass got zipped right in front of him, right where his stick had been a split second before. And I just don't know why he moved it, because the danger play was always that pass.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was going to do with the stick on the forehand side. It had to be in the lane. So it's too bad in the sense that Nurse had played, I thought, a pretty strong game until then. But when you get burned on the game-winning goal, well, sorry, that's going to show up in your game grade, Darnell.
It is a tough play to make, the 2-on-1, right? But you have one job. It's to stop that lateral, that pass across. He was in perfect position to do it, and it didn't get done. So that was a little bit frustrating.
I hated Neal's play on that one. He just glided into the corner, and he had no angle on the guy. He didn't try and check him. He didn't make a thrust to try and get the puck. It was just like he was just, I don't know what he was doing. He
Bruce,
was just gliding around. You can't glide in 3-on-3.
It's on the coach. It's on the coach. It's not on James Neal.
And then
coach should not have him out there.
Well, you got to make a better effort than that. And then Nuge took a bad angle to the puck, and Schmaltz beat both of them with one little swoop, and up the ice he went. And honestly, I didn't think the back check was anything special. Like that 2-on-1, that was a long way up the ice, and I thought Nuge was going to close on him, and he just never did. And it wasn't like Schmaltz was flying at 100 miles an hour. It just seemed like it was just sort of, they were both kind of chugging up the ice, and I guess after a long night's work, maybe that's all that's left in the tank. But it didn't look good on any of the three skaters. Honestly, I didn't think the game winner.
Yeah, well, I hope we don't see James Neal on 3-on-3 anymore. I have a feeling we will, but I hope we don't. It's like, it's not as bad as sending Lucic out there. I mean, that was a whole other category of awful. But that happened.
It's an entirely predictable outcome when they did it.
Sure did, and it didn't happen again. Now, I think it was going to take a goal like this, where Neal kind of tips it in ineffectively and then gets cut up ice. Maybe the coach will wake up and not do it again.
Well,
I hope that's what happens.
The dump in forecheck game is that's not what you see in 3-on-3, and that's kind of Neal's strength. Other than obviously his shot and taking advantage of scoring opportunities, but you got to have a little bit of all ice game to succeed in 3-on-3. There's just so much ice to cover.
What's your number?
I'm going to go with, I think I'll go with +9, Matthew Benning, and he is now +9, leading the Oilers defense by a mile. I think Chris Russell is next at +3, and honestly, David, I don't know how the guy does it. But year after year, he's like a real solid plus player. And it doesn't even matter if the Oilers suck. He's still a solid plus player, and he's already up to +9. He's been on the ice at 5-on-5 play, and I think he was on for a 4-on-4 goal as well. At 5-on-5, he's been on for 11 goals for, 3 against. And it's not like they're dominating the shot clock or dominating play, but he does make some smart plays, and tonight I thought his passing of the puck was particularly good. Like he's a little erratic, but tonight he made a lot of good outlet passes from his zone.
It was as good as I've seen it.
He made us, a real good smart play just to simply let loose that shot when he did into the traffic in front. That Gaetan Haas was credited with the tip home for his first NHL goal, and a big one it was to earn Oilers a standing point and at least a chance at a second one.
Nice tip by Haas, and Benning. He suddenly looked like the Benning of the 2017 playoffs, And I don't know where that player's been, but that player could pass the puck. Now, one of the theories I've heard is that he's had a couple hard hits, been banged up, and that had a big impact on him and kind of took the Mickey out of him a little bit in terms of his play. It's a good theory. In terms of goals plus minus, I don't think it's a stat even for a whole year that I put a lot of weight in on with a player. But year after year after year after year, like Chris Russell, like Matt Benning, you start to see it year after year of a guy who's plus. You got to put some weight on that, Bruce. I feel, and so what I would say about Benning is he is a fundamentally sound defensive player, and that seems like damning with faint praise. Like that's not saying, but actually that's really huge. He is invariably almost always making the right decision, and he's almost always on the right side of his player in the defensive zone. He's not cut out of position. He's always in the right spot, and he battles hard. And he can move the puck. Sort of okay. So this is what he's got some really good things. If he could only move that puck a little bit better, he'd be a top 4 D man. But there's so many plays, Bruce, where he just doesn't hit the player on the stick with the pass. It's frustrating. So this is why there's some negative feeling about the player. I believe. Now it's a little bit over the top.
Some of the feedback I get, it's like he beat up somebody in grade school or something in terms of some of the commentary that like there's some serious hate for the guy, and I just don't understand it. Edmonton boy who was drafted by Boston, went for his free agent option and chose Edmonton, and yet he's a target of abuse from a few corners, and I just don't get it. Like, he's not Bobby Orr, but who the hell is? When you get a free NHL caliber, even a third pairing or bottom 6 player, and they just, no acquisition cost, you just get them, and they step into the lineup and play and don't get killed, which he's never gotten killed. Those players have value.
And he's right shot. He's a right shot player, right? He wouldn't be in the lineup, I don't think, if he was left shot. But he's a right shot, and he's good enough, and he's a good third pairing player. I wish there is that glimpse that we all saw of him. And I don't, maybe it was a mirage in the 2017 playoffs after Sekera went out. And there was one game especially where he just totally was just like, wow, look at this guy. And it seemed like there was lots of those moments in the 2016-17 season with Benning where he just seemed like such a smart player with the puck and capable of making those plays. And then suddenly he just started to get kind of hacky with it, just hacking it out and hacking passes up the ice and lacking confidence. Maybe it was a coaching thing. Maybe he didn't have the right mentoring at the NHL level in terms of, we want you to hold that puck and make a good pass and maybe take a risk, pass it up the middle of the ice. Like there was the whole put it up the boards thing with the Oilers obviously going on for a long time. And now that's changed a little bit. And I saw Benning make a couple nice passes up the middle tonight.
He did. And he made a beauty to Colby Cave the other day that led to a goal. And
so maybe he's going to do that.
He's starting to look up and find the guy and actually make the pass a little bit more reliably. And he does make the odd, certainly blunder where, he whiffs on the puck or, he just makes some kind of physical mistake. Like, he's not a physically gifted player, but he plays with his head, and I think he plays with his heart. Like, he really does battle hard. I have no problems with the player. I think for where he is, it's like saying in baseball, well, that number 8 hitter that you got playing shortstop, he should have 25 homers and 100 RBIs. Well, no, he probably shouldn't. Realistic expectations, and I think he's meeting them.
So are you saying he's the Chris Spire of the Oilers?
The Spike Owen? Yeah, maybe. Well, anyway, plus minus. I know some people absolutely hate it, but for actual depth players, they don't get a lot of power play time. They don't see a lot of shorties on their watch. They don't see any empty net goals on their watch. They're legit what happens 5-on-5 when they're out there. And now in his career, he's been on the ice for 33 more goals for the Oilers than for the other guys. And the Oilers have had bad teams for some of that time.
People say there's the small sample size for plus minus goals, but the sample size for a whole season is 82 games, right? It's the whole season. It's every minute you're on the ice. That's a pretty big sample size. And then when you get to 164 games or 250 games, and you still have this plus going on, again, I think that's wrong-headed at that point. Not to put some weight on it, I think that you're making a mistake in terms of your analysis if that's what you're doing.
Well, outscoring is what the game is about.
Sure is. All right. My number is 5. That's the number of hits that Zach Kassian threw, including just a couple, just absolutely brutal hits, where he hit to Jordan Osterley really hard. Oh, God. Rick Tocchet was beside. Rick Tocchet just wanted to jump on the ice and fight Zach Kassian at that second, and he couldn't do it because he's the coach. But that was the kind of hit that Rick Tocchet threw 100 times in his NHL career.
And if somebody threw it against his teammate, he would fight the guy.
He would fight the guy.
Kind of player he was.
Oh yeah, so you could just see him on the bench. He just didn't know what to do. Like it was like he was this. I thought he might actually explode. Because he was going to go in all these directions at once. He didn't know how to handle that. But what a hit by Kassian. And then he followed that up a few minutes later with another really hard hit, a guy along the boards. And then it got contagious. Nuge was starting to hit. We saw Nasty Nuge, Bruce. And I have to say, I really like Nasty Nuge. I think Nasty Nuge should do more of that. Because when he starts to play physical, and we've seen it a couple times this year, that kind of forcefulness from Nugent Hopkins. He can really lay on the body because he's great on it. He's so solid on his skates. He's fast. And I think he's maybe a little, I don't know if he's a little heavy or something, but he's tough.
He's got to be at least be getting his young man strength by now. I mean, I don't know. It might take another 30 years before he gets his old man strength, but he's got, he's no longer the weakling. That he appeared to be at times in his younger years. He was such a slight, slender fellow. Yeah. But he's all grown up now, right? He's 26 years old, and I
like that line.
Yeah, and when he plays with a little bit of edge, I think he's a little more effective, frankly.
Yeah, he needs to. And
right? I mean, he's not Dave Keon, and we shouldn't expect him to be Dave Keon. But he needs to expand maybe a little bit on his game, and that's one area that he can. Another one is face-offs, where he won 10 of 14 tonight. So,
well, there you go. He's bringing the nasty on the dot. All right, is that it? Are we done?
Yeah, I'll leave Colby Cave's horrible line change for the game grades. And and a couple other observations. I didn't love this game. The Coyotes games just drive me mental. They come in here and they walk out with 2 points over and over and over and over again. And they did it again.
The no-namers. Yeah, well, good for them.
Yeah, I guess.
Good for them.
Frustrating.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Bruce. Thanks for talking tonight.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.